This man was 3 kilometers from the first atomic bomb ever dropped on a city. He survived. Then, burned and half-blind, he traveled home, and 3 days later he was standing 3 kilometers from the second one. He survived that too. This is the true story of the only person ever officially recognized to have lived through both. His name was Tsutomu Yamaguchi. In the summer of 1945, he was a 29-year-old engineer who designed oil tankers for Mitsubishi, and he'd spent months working away from home in the city of Hiroshima. That morning was finally his last day. His bags were packed, and he was desperate to get back to his wife and baby son, waiting for him in Nagasaki. He set off for the train station, but partway there he realized he'd forgotten his travel documents and turned back. A small, ordinary decision. It placed him out in the open at the worst possible moment. At 15 minutes past 8, he saw it, a blinding flash of light tearing across the sky, like an enormous magnesium flare. Instinct took over, and in the split second before the blast wave reached him, he threw himself to the ground. Then the force hit. It lifted him off his feet, spun him through the air, and slammed him down into a potato field. When he came to, his eardrums had burst, his face and upper body were badly burned, and for a while he was almost completely blind. Above the city, a vast column of smoke was climbing into the sky. The city he'd known was simply gone. He found 2 of his colleagues alive, and they spent that night in an air raid shelter, his burns untreated, the sky glowing behind them. The next morning he made his way to what was left of the railway, and, incredibly, some trains were still running. So he boarded one and headed for safety. And here's the cruel twist of his story. The safe place he was racing home to was Nagasaki, itself a major shipbuilding city, and itself a target. He arrived on the 7th of August, burned and exhausted, to find his wife and son alive. A doctor wrapped his burns in bandages. He was in a terrible state, but he was home, and he was alive. And then, showing the astonishing sense of duty of the time, this man who had just walked through the unthinkable did something remarkable. On the morning of the 9th of August, just 3 days after Hiroshima, he wrapped up his wounds and went back into work. That morning, in the Mitsubishi office, he stood in front of his company director and tried to explain the impossible, that a single bomb from a single plane had wiped out an entire city. His boss listened and simply did not believe him. It sounded like a man driven out of his mind by his injuries. "You're an intelligent engineer," the director told him, in effect. "How could one single bomb possibly destroy an entire city?" Yamaguchi insisted it was true. He had seen it with his own eyes. And at that exact moment, as he stood there wrapped in bandages, arguing that one bomb had leveled Hiroshima, the same blinding white light he had seen 3 days earlier suddenly flooded the room. It was 2 minutes past 11. The second atomic bomb had just detonated over Nagasaki, and once again, Yamaguchi was about 3 kilometers from the center. The office was torn apart around him. And somehow, this bandaged man who had already survived one atomic bomb lived through a second. So did his wife and their baby son. She had gone out searching for burn ointment for his wounds, and that errand kept them shielded from the worst of it. But surviving was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, radiation sickness took hold. His hair fell out, his wounds refused to heal, and for a long time his family feared he wouldn't make it. He lived, and for most of his life he rarely spoke about it, until, growing older, he came to believe his impossible survival had given him a duty. So he began to speak out, campaigning against nuclear weapons, even addressing the United Nations. In 2009, the Japanese government formally recognized him as a twice-bombed person. He remains the only one ever officially certified. He died the following year, aged 93. He didn't want to be remembered as the luckiest man alive. He wanted to be a reminder of what these weapons actually do, so that no one would ever have to endure it again. If his story moved you, share it. And I'll see you in the next one.